Of all professional sports out there today, none is more surrounded with a greater sense of superstition than is the sport of professional baseball. It seems there isn't a season that passes us by when there isn't a player, a team, a league, heck, a stadium that's surrounded by some sense of jinx or good or bad luck, or as the Wheels of Fortune would tell us, the Wheels of Fortune and tarot cards. Well, I thought we might have some fun with that tonight. I brought with me a package of various playing cards, trading cards that I used to collect as a kid. I'm going to hand them over to you and have you turn one over. I don't want you to pick your favorite, so when you do that with one of the cards in the pile under the table and then hand them back to me. Okay? Turn that over. Okay, we're looking at the trading cards here. There is one that's turned up. We'll put the others away. And the one that you've picked is Junior Lake. He's a Chicago Cub. I guess he's as good as any. We'll put him off to the side for the moment. I also brought regular playing cards, and I'd like your help in having select a playing card here. What I'd like you to do is, okay, right there, very good, pointing in the deck. Hand that card to you, and now I'll fan the deck, and I'll ask you to point or put the card in the deck wherever you wish. Right in there, very good, okay. Now we're going to take your trading card that you've selected, and we'll make that a marker card. And by that I mean I'm going to put cards down one at a time, and I'd like you to tell me when to stop putting cards down. Just say stop whenever you... Very good, right there. All right. I'll put that in, and we'll fan out the deck again and put those aside. So randomly, those are the cards that are above and below that particular card. Now we'll put the playing cards away. I brought with me 4 packages of trading cards, and I'd like you to point to 2 of the 4. Point to any 2. These 2. Okay, very good. We'll put those aside. And then these 2, this one, put that away. So from this remaining package, we'll now open up this package. I'll put the trading cards down, face down on the surface. Now, baseball is interesting in that, unlike football or I guess other sports, there are no ties allowed in the game of baseball. So you cannot stop playing until you have a winner. There's only winners and losers in baseball, and it can go deep into the night. Now we only have 10 minutes here, so I'm going to cut to the chase, and with the cards that we've got here before us, I'm going to use the old standby, Weenie Weenie Snarf, and don't try that at home. Those are very, very powerful magic words, by the way, Weenie Weenie Snarf. I'm going to turn this card over and ask, was that your card? No, okay, well, that's a strike. We'll put this card off to the side. You know, shame on me. Here I am talking about the power and superstition of baseball and these trading cards. We really haven't done much with the cards yet. Cards are interesting. On the back of these cards are little descriptions that give you a little more information about the player on the card. Go ahead and take the card back that you selected, and if you would, just read out the first phrase or sentence that's there on the back, and so everyone can hear it. Junior Lake. Junior Lake can actually be found in 2 places at once. Well, that's interesting. Junior Lake can actually be found in 2 places at once. Junior Lake can actually be found in 2 places at once. I mean, what if he literally meant that? If he is literally in 2 places at once? We can just kind of go with that. There's 2 piles here. You've got a Junior Lake card in this pile, and then here we can look. Sure enough, there is a Junior Lake in this pile as well. We'll leave that one here. So we've got the 2 Junior Lake trading cards here on the table. Now I have to admit I am feeling a little bit jinxed, so I'm going to pull out my magic wand bat. Some call them bat wands. I prefer wand bat. And I'm going to say the magic words now: Bambino, Bambino, Bambino. And I know that's not going to work. I'm going to say those words, but for goodness sakes, Bambino, that's Babe Ruth. He was a Yankee. He wasn't a Cub, for goodness sakes. So, well, that's strike 2. You know, words are interesting. If I said that I had several of something. You wouldn't really know if I had 4 or 5 of the items. If I said you had a few, it could be 3, could be 4. But if I said that you had both, that this card is found in both piles, you can find this card in both piles. Junior Lake is in both piles. Well, that could only mean 2. That could only mean 2. But then the question is, how did Junior Lake know that you had the 2? Well, because he had both. Well, thank you very much. And while our assistant is leaving the table, I should just acknowledge that these 2 routines are original ones that I've put together myself. The following one is an excerpted presentation from an essay originally written by Ernest Thayer and first printed in the San Francisco Examiner in 1888. But it does feel like it needs a little bit of finesse. I'm not going to lie. I feel like it needs a little something extra. Oh, of course, my magic hat. I guess that's one good part of this. But, I wish I smoked cigars. I don't. But if I did, I'd almost feel like I'd be able to use a little gravelier, more character-filled voice, add a little more flair to this particular routine than I normally would. The outlook wasn't brilliant for the Mudville Nine that day. The score stood 4-2 with one more inning left to play. But when Cooney died at first and Barrows did the same, a sickly silence fell upon the patrons of the game. Some got up to go in deep despair. Others held to the hope which lies deep within the human breast, for they felt that if Casey could get a whack at that, they'd put up even money with Casey at the bat. But Flynn preceded Casey, as did Jimmy Blake. The former was a Lulu, the latter was a fake. So upon the grim multitude melancholy sat, for no one really knew if Casey might ever get to the bat. But Flynn let drive a single to the wonderment of all, and Blake, the much despised, tore the cover off that ball. And when the dust had settled, the men saw what had occurred. There was Jimmy safe at second, and Flynn was hugging third. And from the crowds there rose a mighty yell. It rumbled through the valley, it rattled through the dell. It knocked upon the mountain, recoiled upon the plate, for everyone knew that Casey was going to be coming up to the bat. There was a certain pace in Casey's style as he approached the plate. There was a pride in his bearing and a smile on his face. And when the crowd cheered, he lightly doffed his hat, for everyone knew 'twas mighty Casey coming to the bat. 10,000 eyes cheered as he rubbed his hands in the dirt. 5,000 eyes watched as he rubbed them on his shirt. And when the writhing pitcher rubbed the ball on his hip, well, there was a gleam in Casey's eye and a sneer on his lip. And then the leather spheroid came hurtling through the air, and Casey stood by in haughty grandeur there. Close by the batsman, the unheeded ball sped. "That ain't my style," said Casey. "Strike one," the umpire said. From the benches, swarmed with people, there came a muffled roar, the kind you might hear from an off and distant shore. "Kill him! Kill the umpire!" someone shouted from the stand, and it's possible they just might have, had not Casey raised his hand. With a smile of human charity, his mighty visage shone. He waved to the crowd and bade the game go on. He nodded to the pitcher, and once again the mighty spheroid flew, and once again Casey just stood by. The umpire yelled, "Strike two!" "Fraud!" cried the echoed masses, and echo answered fraud. But with a wave of Casey's hands, the audience was awed. They could see his muscles sweat. They could see his muscles strain. They knew he wasn't about to let that ball go by again. The sneer is gone from Casey's mouth. His teeth are clenched in hate. He bats with cruel violence that bat upon the plate. And now the pitcher holds the ball, and now he lets it go, and now the air is shattered by the force of Casey's blow. Oh, somewhere in this favored land, the sun is shining bright. Somewhere folks are singing, and somewhere hearts are light, and somewhere Men are laughing, and somewhere children shout. But there is no joy in Mudville, the mighty Casey has struck.